NASCAR heads north this weekend to Michigan International Speedway. We get you set for the occasion with the latest news and our best bets for the Cup and the Truck Series. Buckle up, throw the windows down. It's a brand new episode of the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the States.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock, and we are headed to the Irish Hills of Michigan this weekend. The NASCAR Cup and the Truck Series going to be heading up north. How are you doing tonight, Seth?
It's a glorious time to be alive, brother. The summertime weather, it's officially touched down here in the Keystone State. We're now just 2 weeks away from a spectacular weekend up on the Great Pocono Mountain for some on-track coverage as well. And we've got some great venues in between now and then, including this weekend in the state that I refer to really as Pennsylvania adjacent, beautiful up there with the Great Lakes and all that they got going on over there, Michigan. So excited to break it down with you tonight, Elliot.
Yeah, me too. It's getting warm in Pennsylvania. Not quite California warm. Shout out to Nicolette, our producer in the background, from out in the, I don't know what their state nickname is, but I do know Michigan state nickname is the Wolverine State, although it does have quite a few others, the Great Lakes State, things like that. But anyway, we'll be looking ahead to Michigan. First, we'll look back in the rear view, talk about Nashville, give you a big news update today, as well as our first look at the in-season tournament, which will start its seeding over the next 3 weeks. And then they'll race for it over the 5 weeks after that. We'll break down Michigan and the horizon forecast, and then give you our parking garage props for the Cup and the Truck Series. And hey, we appreciate you being on here tonight. If you like what you see, give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and check out our written content on in-betweenmedia.com. We give you a preview of our exclusive betting model that you get full access to over in the IBT Racing Family Discord. We ask for $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. It's less than $1 per race. And at this point, we're already halfway through the regular season. You know, you guys have missed out enough. I feel like this betting model has done a lot of great work for us this year and for the people in there. Gives you Discord chat access with myself, with Seth, with Rod, with Ryan for My Fantasy Race, and with our great community that we built in there. And it also gives you entry into our giveaways. We had a big giveaway around Daytona, and we've got a giveaway coming next week. That, my friend, is a Joey Logano autographed Shell Pennzoil polo shirt. Seth, that was a pickup from you, so I'll let you talk a little more about it.
Yeah, so very, very clear. Not like verified or anything, but I did pick this one up. It does have what looks like a Joey Logano autograph on it, so we're going to call it a Joey Logano autograph polo. And let's just give this bad boy away, man. I've been sitting on it for way too long. And also, I want to challenge as well. If we get 2 new members in the IBT Racing family by the end of Pocono race weekend and we get to 1,600 subscribers, we're going to do another giveaway. We have a Michael McDowell, a little swag pack. We got an autographed die cast of him and a shirt that I believe you sent over as well. So we'll do that 2 weeks after Pocono. If we can get to 1,600 subscribers, if we can get 2 new members in the IBT Racing family. How's that sound, Elliot?
That sounds great, man. We've got plenty of stuff to give away, and we love sharing with the IBT family. Shout out to everybody listening on our audio version as well over on Apple Podcasts. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and give us a 5-star review, or, be honest, whatever review you think. If you think we're only worth 3 stars, give it to us. At least put something out there in the public, and we'll do our best to earn your 5 stars. But I don't know. I've been feeling good about things lately, and we appreciate everyone. Also, everyone listening in Western Tennessee, 101.5 FM, Talking West Tennessee. That's been fun now. Almost a month we've been on there now, if not a little longer than that. Fun times, 8 p.m. on Saturdays. You can catch us. Shout out to you if you're listening to us that way. The links to all of that wonderful stuff we just talked about in the episode description. And yeah, just thanks for supporting In Between Media. Isn't that right, Seth?
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, man. Little afternoon, we already had our guy Marcus jumping into the chat saying, everyone, who's your pick to win at Michigan? 8 hours before live. We appreciate that. And not long after came Kush through the door saying, dark horse, number 77, Carson Hocevar. We'll certainly chat a lot about that Spire Motorsports car this weekend. And we also got Nick tuning in as well saying, what's up? His dark horse for the week, it's Keselowski, bad Brad Keselowski. I like what you're putting down there. And then Nicolette in the chat saying California is the Golden State. There you go.
Right,
Come on,
of course.
Elliot.
Yeah, I should have known that one. I would. Randy Jessic would not be happy for me if we were still in our college journalism class. But anyway, enough about state nicknames, and let's get into the racing as we take a look back in the rear view. So Nashville was a wild and wonderful triple header weekend. In the truck series, I want to call him a surprise winner, but not really a surprise. Raja Caruth getting his second career win, outdueled Corey Heim, Layne Riggs, and others. Had a fast pit stop that gave him the lead and was able to take the win there. Over in Xfinity, Justin Allgaier dominates a race and doesn't have anything bad happen to him. So he ends up getting the checkered flag there. I saw a stat. He's already got more top fives this year than he did in his entire championship season last year. So that's pretty impressive there. We saw Daniel Dye get disqualified from that race, and the 88 crew chief for Connor Zilisch got a suspension for loose lug nuts. He will defer that, so he'll go to Mexico in a couple of weeks, and then we'll miss out on the Pocono weekend. So something to watch when we're at the Tricky Triangle in a few weeks there. And in the Cup Series, Ryan Blaney finally gets a checkered flag in 2025, gains track position with some strategy, and with that classic long run speed that we've seen from the number 12, it finally pays off, and Blaney gets a win.
Yeah, man, a great weekend overall. Like, I will say, I think a lot of the action was in these lower series races, at least like Friday. That was a really good race with Raja trying to hold off Corey Heim. Layne Riggs seemed like he had an absolute rocket as well. So that was a really fun race. We saw Corey Day up there have a great run as well in that Spire truck. So really fun first Friday. Saturday, like, yeah, it's just a butt whooping of Allgaier, right? Like we've kind of said this all season long. I keep betting him. I keep finding ways to bet him. I had him in a nice little parlay last week with Denny Hamlin top 10. So that came through for us. And Gators just absolutely cranking it on everyone right now. And then I will say, like, I don't know about you. Maybe it was just because we were high on Denny, or at least I was high on Denny and thought maybe he could get the win, and he couldn't. But I was a little disappointed with how Nashville raced. It seemed like as that race went on, you couldn't really run that high groove at all. You couldn't run the middle of the track. You really were kind of pigeonholed to the bottom of everything. And I felt like that it was a little bit like a one-lane racetrack at the end of there. And even the leaders, the fastest cars in the race, had a hard time passing lap traffic.
Yeah, and that was really a problem late in the race, too. I know Denny Hamlin, who ran third, talked about it, that you could pass a little bit, but it definitely did have some of that next-gen passing issues that we run into. If you don't want to pass people, though, you can do what Carson Hocevar did to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the middle of the race there, as they ran into some tangling before Hocevar had a great run and ended up finishing second there. Now we have the lower third. Sorry about for those of you watching, we had a couple that must not have uploaded when I did that a few minutes ago. Still going through some stuff, but hey, we appreciate you. And but yeah, so Hocevar and Stenhouse, that was a big issue even before Hocevar nearly goes out there and wins the race. Just kind of a typical Hocevar move. And we've got a little clip that we're going to play now, right? Yeah, there we got the timing of it. Worked out great. Last second edition there, Seth bringing in that clip, because it really shows kind of what happened during the race. And we saw a few different times cars would just get loose on the bottom. I mean, we saw Alex Bowman and Noah Gragson crash out of the race from sort of a similar move there. But Hocevar, just kind of a deal where it looked like he sent it in and kind of got into the 47. Yeah, how dirty do you think this move is? Do you think Hocevar is an excessively dirty driver for this? I know there are certainly some people out there, number 47 car himself, that might think that way.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Hocevar, like I've been known to call a spade, whether that was Kyle Larson, having some questionable moves, you could say, earlier this season on a super speedway against Austin Cindric, or whether it was Austin Cindric dumping Ty Dillon at a road course earlier this year. Like I would usually call it how I see it. I think this one isn't as black and white though as everyone's making out to be. Like, let's not forget that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. always putting himself where he doesn't belong. Yeah. Let's go back to Daytona 500, Elliot. The big one comes from Ricky Stenhouse trying to put a block on Logano way late and then trying to do it again after he gets pushed out of the way and was going to get, put towards the middle. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And I think if we watch that back even, man, like Hocevar was, I think he showed him that he had the bottom and that he had a run going. So maybe I'm on the wrong side of this one, but I agree with Hocevar. Like I think Ricky could have seen that he was on the bottom, cut him a little bit of slack. Because if Hocevar lifts right there, man, I think he's losing at least a position or two, probably, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the tough part too, is on those restarts when things are close, with just how tough it is to pass in this next gen, you got to get a little aggressive and get those spots when you can get them. And on a week and a half, 2 weeks, however long it's been since the Earnhardt documentary came out, that was Dale Earnhardt's racing style. I know Carson Hocevar has got a long way to go before he can truly throw out any comparisons to the Intimidator, but he's sort of the modern day Intimidator, the way he races. And to be honest with both of these guys, if you're looking at from the outside looking in, it's tough to feel sympathy for either one of these, because Hocevar, it's far from the first time he's put himself in the situation. And Ricky Stenhouse has the nickname Ricky Spinhouse for a reason. They both ran into these deals before. I think it's fair racing, and I think it's completely fair if Ricky, next time he races the 77, a little bit into him. I think that's totally fair too.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing is, if like Carson Hocevar's name was not Carson Hocevar and it was like Brad Smith or something, and he didn't have the resume coming into the Cup Series that he had, like I think he's raced everyone pretty respectively this entire season. I mean, we saw it in this race at the end of this. Carson Hocevar has a chance to get up there and compete for the win, and he wasn't driving like a jerk or anything. I felt like he was very gathered, and we saw it the week before in the Coke 600 as well before his engine blew. Like, I think Carson Hocevar has driven more respectable in the Cup Series than maybe he ever did in the Truck Series. Even what he did in the Truck Series this year was more questionable than anything he's done in the Cup Series. So, I mean, this is one of the fastest drivers out there right now. I don't want to see this guy lose his edge. And, you know, he was talking to some big wigs up at Hendricks at the end of this race. So I know that put a little bit of a sweat into you Alex Bowman fans there, Elliot.
Hey, Spire and Hendrick are closely affiliated. Chad Canhouse just saying how proud he is of the lower teams outrunning some of the higher teams there. Good work. Hey, we've been so busy talking about the racing, we haven't even brought up the bets. We both, that's probably for good reason, because neither of us had a great week. We both end up in the red. But, I mean, I'm proud of the way my card looked. It's been a while since I've hit an outright, but hit a couple of placement props once again. Denny Hamlin for the top 5, ran great all night. Hocevar with the top 10, of course, and Eric Jones was the fast legacy car, running as high as, I think, P4, P3.
Yeah.
1 point, so hit that 6-1 top 10, as well as those Fanatics Sportsbooks matchup on that number 44 of JJ Yaley. Comes up one spot short of getting by Cody Ware for one of those matchups, but does easily beat Chad Fincham, so that cashing a minus money 130 ticket. But Cup was all for me this week. Didn't hit anything on Xfinity Trucks or F1 because Tyler Ankrum finally decided to throw out a stinker at Nashville in the trucks.
Yeah, that's I got caught up in the trucks as well. I had Ben Rhodes over Garcia. Looked good early on. Rhodes pit crew, I mean, they looked like they were out to lunch. I don't think they ever really made it out of the trailer, man, because they every time Ben Rhodes would pit, he would be in top 10, and he would just, you know, come out 23rd and have to make his way up. And but yeah, Jake Garcia looking pretty good there. I don't know if I'll fade him anytime soon. Did hit our Jim's big time summertime parlay of the week as well, sponsored by Busch Light Apple, of course, minus 133. That was a nice hit. I should have talked about it. I should have also done the heavier version, which was an all-Geier top 3 with that Denny Hamlin top 10. And I should have just done a Denny Hamlin top 5 straight up like you did as well, looking back. Like I told you, I was a little bit scared to do that, just how Hamlin is finished. But that felt great. Sam Mayer, top 10 in the Xfinity Series, 3 units down on that. That comes back. Austin Hill, top 10 in the Xfinity. So, you know, I hit my 3 biggest bets of the weekend, Elliot. It just wasn't enough to cover myself when I'm betting minus 160s, minus 175s there on Saturday.
Yeah, and with Allgaier, I don't blame you for doing that, because it's just trouble has bit him all the time. And yeah, I'm thankful to have only lost a small amount too. I've been rolling with some no sweat bets from BetMGM that I'm still rolling this week. So that's helped me too to keep me just on the small negative side and not losing a little more getting that back.
Before we move off this, and I just have to say, like, so I've been getting a little more into the IndyCar side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would have laid my house down on a Kyle Kirkwood top 5, and I couldn't find any top 5s anywhere, only top 3s, and that's when I bet Palou in that parlay, and that came back to bite me. He got spun out of that race. But like, man, like you can bet everything under the sun for an F1 race a month in advance. Can I just get like some IndyCar action at like DraftKings didn't even have IndyCar for most last week. So just kind of like what's going on out here, man? Let's share the love out there.
Yeah, IndyCar is tough. And F1, it's not even just a month out. As soon as the schedule drops, basically, they put odds out for the Las Vegas Grand Prix,
Yeah.
which happens, I think, in late November. So the F1 book's definitely stronger out there for sure. I agree with you. And you were on the right track there with Kirkwood. Ends up getting the win after Pelot gets knocked out.
Yeah, did want to shout out a couple people in the chat. First, there's our guy Johnson, Kyle Busch to win Michigan. Dude, I think a Kyle Busch win's coming, right? But I just don't know when.
Yeah, I feel like that for a lot of guys in the garage. There's 5, 6, 7 drivers, even with Blaney off the list now, that it feels like they just need one more card to fall the right way, and they're going to end up in victory lane. I guess you count Kyle Busch as one of those, but he's not that high up the list for me.
Yeah, I just need a better number. Like, it's 35-1. I don't think he currently warrants that. And like even last week, I remember early in the week, kind of just sorting through stuff. I did throw a Kyle Busch bet down on the paper and then workshopped and was like, nah, I don't really want a Kyle Busch top 10 after all. And I'm glad I didn't, because I think he finished 11th or 12th, like right outside the top 10. So it would have been a tough beat for me if I did go with that. And then our guy Stan tuning in as well, saying my Nashville trip went off without a hitch. Great to hear that. It was a glorious event to experience the field coming to the green for the first time. I felt like I was part of the machine. Live is much better than on TV. How about it, Elliot?
Yeah, that really is true. I mean, we said this last week too when we were plugging Pocono. If you haven't been to a track yet, get yourself out to a track, because it really is an entirely different experience.
Oh, dude, there's nothing like it, man. Like, even like the smell. Like I don't know. Like you walk up there, man. You got some fried foods going off. You got gasoline in the air, some burnt rubber smell. Like it's awesome, man. It takes you back to the good times in life, right? So
yeah, just don't get too close to the porta potties.
Ooh, yeah. That's a smell too. That's a smell too, my friend. That's a smell too. Real quick, I want to challenge for any of our Pennsylvania or Pocono based listeners. I want to do some food reviews at the track this year, and whether we make a YouTube video or whether we put it just in the Discord or something. I want to do that, Elliot. And I don't know, like, there's not like a Pocono hot dog like there is Martinsville or something. So like, I don't know what we need to try, but you and I need to do a little due diligence. So if you guys have been up to Pocono before, if you know a good spot to eat at the track or something we need to try, let us know, or we might be reviewing some like house nachos or something from Pocono Raceway, baby.
There we go. There's a review. We get stuff from the Wise Markets down the road and do a little Airbnb food review if we can't get anything good at the track.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We got Mallory saying background looking good, Elliot. Yeah, Elliot, liking the new setup, my brother.
It's all a work in progress. We're getting there. Certainly not looking bad though. Definitely a little better than we had before. We can admit that now that we've moved on to greener pastures here.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we turn the page, though, to Michigan, Elliot, I do think we have some important news items and a tournament to break down.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the big news in NASCAR dropped this morning regarding the 2311 Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR lawsuit. And it is that the U.S. Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of NASCAR and vacated the injunction requiring NASCAR to treat 2311 and Front Row as chartered teams. So I'll break down some legalese kind of piece by piece, and then we can break it down a little bit in those pieces. What this means is it's not immediate. It's not a light switch. The teams will have 14 days to petition for a rehearing of sorts in front of all the appeals judges. So normally it's 3 that hear the case. There are 18 total on the panel. They have 14 days for that. And then 7 days after that deadline passes would be the earliest this would take effect. So this would be the Atlanta/EchoPark Speedway race. That'd be the earliest they would possibly have to enter as unchartered cars. But because all 3 of those judges concurred in their decision, it's not a guarantee they would win, that they would be able to hear a second appeal, and it's unlikely that full 18-judge panel would even accept that. So it's not instant, but it is very soon down the road that both 2311 and FRM may be looking at a future as open cars.
Just insane, just crazy. Never thought we would get here. Really puts a lot of pressure, not only on these drivers coming up here soon, but just the teams in general. Ellie, do you know what this would mean for their playoff eligibility, their championship aspirations? What does this kind of mean for both Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan's team, and of course Front Row Motorsports as well?
Yep. So shout out to Bob Pockris and Matt Weaver, were 2 of the Motorsports reporters I sourced a lot of this from. All unchartered cars are still eligible for the playoffs, provided they attempt to qualify for all races. So even if you did have some sort of surprise DNQ, for any of those 6 entries that would move to Uncharted. It would not DQ you from the playoffs. And there's also a rule that if any open car were to make the playoffs, NASCAR rules do lock them into the field for the duration of the playoffs. So that is helpful. One thing I didn't mention, the court overturned this decision because in the theory of antitrust law in this case is not supported by past precedent, which is tough because that's the reason they're bringing the case to the table. But you can't really set a precedent on something that hasn't happened yet. So that because there hasn't been legalese proof of the harm that they would have said would supposedly have happened, they did not allow this injunction to go through. That's what the suit's trying to prove, like I said. So, but it's difficult because it puts them in a decision where it's 23-11 in front row that have to push all their chips to the center of the table when they definitely were not wanting to do that.
Yeah, it's super upsetting, and I imagine too this means that potentially a lot of money is not going to come their way as well for the different rights deals and things like that. So there's about to be a strain put on these teams, and it's just a shame because I really feel like 23-11 and Front Row Motorsports, Bob and the gang, and then and Denny and the boys, like they did this, I feel like, out of the right place, right? Like they're trying to make an even playing field for everyone. They're, obviously I'm sure they have, selfish intentions about it too, but I mean, they've spent so many millions of dollars contributing to this sport. They're one of the best teams, 23-11, that is, in off the, the track, in engagement with fans and activations and promoting the sport. Like Denny Hamlin let us into his life last year for that Netflix documentary. So very disappointing that, someone had to fall on the sword, and it looks like they will, at least for the time being, man.
Yeah. And of course, it's still an ongoing process. Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer that's working with 23-11 and FRM, says in part, we remain confident in our case and committed to racing for the entirety of the season. So you're not going to see any of the 6 entries that will start to pull out of races. Trial currently scheduled to begin on December 1st. Of course, we'll break down any sort of big legal things that come to it. But this is the one of all of them so far that could affect the racing the most. I don't think that it's going to knock them out of any races. But it is a situation where open cars make, I think, less than a third of the money throughout a full season than a full chartered team would. And the teams that sign the agreement will probably get extra money from this that is not going to 23-11 and FRM. In terms of what could happen with the extra charters, though, it's unsure what exactly would happen. We got to get to the point of, hey, they're not racing as charter teams first. But presumably, they fall into the hands of NASCAR. And I'm sure it's very unlikely they're going to make any deals, especially long-term, to do that, because that'd be looked at poorly in the courts as to say, hey, they were still fighting this and you sold them to somebody else. But obviously Gene Haas and what used to be Stewart Haas Racing can't use them. You've got, it's a situation where, if I can put on my tinfoil hat for a second, maybe you see some short-term, week-to-week temporary charter use. Maybe you have the France family run their Action Express with some drivers at road courses. Maybe you do short-term leases to, like, maybe Trackhouse wants to make sure Zilisch is in. Maybe Dale Jr. wants to bring out the 40 car again. Maybe you have other part-timers. Maybe Rick Ware wants some extra money to go put a road course ringer in the 15. That's all tinfoil hat. But presumably, if NASCAR's got 6 charters just sitting there, they can wheel and deal with them a little bit in the short term, knowing that basically if the injunction remains overturned, they've got the whole rest of the year with only 30 chartered cars instead of 36.
Yeah, I just don't know who wants to get involved at this point, right? That's like the caveat. Like, who wants to invest all the money and bringing in the talent, bringing in the crew, and getting the car and everything like that, and then you just have no idea what's happening with these charters over the next 12 months. So time will tell, my friend. But this is like almost, I don't want to say it's worst case scenario, but like I feel like we're starting to go down this like rabbit hole. Like we're starting to go down this other. Like there are 2 paths this could have gone, right? Like 2 realities. And we're starting to look at the one where we don't know what the future of the sport looks like. And it's very upsetting and troubling, but hey, we just got to hope that, everything will work out, and it usually does. So, let's keep praying on it and keep hoping for everyone's sake, man.
Yep. Developing story that's going to continue to develop, just as we saw an unexpected development with a driver now part-time in the Cup Series. Corey LaJoie decided he's not too good for the Truck Series after all. He is okay racing in front of those 12 fans that are supposedly in the stands Friday, Saturday. He's going to race 9 truck races for his old boys, the Spire Motorsports team. He'll race the 07 truck starting this weekend at Michigan, then in Richmond again in about a month or two's time, and then he'll run all 7 playoff races in that 07 when full-time Cup drivers are not eligible to run in the lower series because they're declared for points. For LaJoie, I mean, we covered this earlier in the year when he was stacking his pennies in the L1 car. Hey, now the U.S. isn't going to make pennies anymore, so he's going to have to change the name of his podcast too. His whole brand goes out the window now. But in any case, it will be nice because we know the truck is decent. We know it can win. We know it can run all right. Even with your Kyle Busch's, he hasn't done so well. I'm putting him in a mid-tier now. BJ McLeod as well ran okay in that truck. It's a truck that can do well, and I think LaJoie is really going to have to race his rear end off if he's going to get any more significant amount of races in the top 3 series at all. He's going to have to do well in these 9 truck races.
This feels like a comedy, like a movie. I mean, this has been like right now. I feel like when Corey LaJoie walks into like the first drivers meeting for the truck series, like everyone, including Daniel Hemrick, are just be sitting there. Well, look what the cat drag did, man. I mean, this is
look at Hemrick got the truck that was offered to LaJoie, has already won a race with it and locked himself into the playoffs. That could have been your stacking pennies boy.
Yeah, it's a tough look, man, and I don't think anyone will be cutting him any slack out there. He's got a little bit of a learning curve to get back in this as well. And let me tell you right now, from a betting perspective, if you have an opportunity these next couple of weeks, especially as LaJoie is getting back adjusted, fade Corey LaJoie in matchups, fade him in groups, do what you can to bet against this truck because while the equipment hasn't been outstanding this season, it's not bad equipment, but at the same time, like Corey LaJoie was already, like I think he was 14-1. I saw him open up this week, Elliot, on the outright.
I think I saw him as low as 10-1 in some books.
Okay. Crazy. And for instance, Daniel Hemrick, who has a win this season, who is in better equipment than this, I would argue as well with McAnally Racing, is that like he's 35-1. Like, it's just disrespectful. So Corey LaJoie is going to be overvalued. Let's fade, and let's keep enjoying this storyline because it is irony to a T.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And even Daniel Hemrick, the guy who's always this guy never wins races, 2 more National Series race wins than LaJoie, who has 0, and 1 more Series championship than LaJoie, also with 0. But I don't want to crap on him too much. Shout out to him for at least owning up and saying, hey, this is probably my best opportunity to go out there and run competitively. It's definitely foot in mouth. He's been good with Prime. I don't want to crap on him too much.
Oh, great. He's electric.
We'll see how he runs, and then we can revisit in the offseason. We can spend a whole November Thursday taking a dump on Corey LaJoie if we have to. Yeah,
when I saw him bombing beers with Carl and the boys afterwards, like I'm in, man. Like that's my type of broadcast. That's been phenomenal. I think like if it doesn't work out here for Corey LaJoie on the track, and I hope it does if that's still his aspirations, man's got a career after. He'll be fine for a long, long time. So, Corey LaJoie, I know you've taken a lot of flack on this program in particular this season, but we still got your back. We still got your back, Corey. Best of luck here, man.
Yeah, he'll just have to be stacking nickels, and maybe he can do that if he moves up and gets a full-time ride again. One more note before we preview the in-season tournament. Connor Zilisch is going to be back in that number 87 for Trackhouse at Atlanta, which is now called EchoPark Speedway with sponsorship. I feel like we're also going to call it Atlanta, just like we did with Phoenix when it was ISM and Sonoma when it was called Infineon and stuff like that. He'll also drive that car at Watkins Glen, where in his first Xfinity start, he took the win last year. Could be fun to watch that Red Bull 87 rolling around the track there. We will be seeing some fun rolling around the track in the in-season tournament, which these next 3 weeks are going to be seeding. We had the top 32 in Cup Series points lock themselves in after Nashville. The 4 full-timers that miss out, Shane Van Gisbergen, which is tough because there's road course races in both the seeding and the tournament. He misses out. Fellow rookie Riley Herbst also is out. Cole Custer, one of your championship picks, P35 in the points. He's out, as well as Cody Ware in the 51. The races for seeding are going to be the next 3 weeks: Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. And we all kind of thought, okay, so just whoever's the highest in the point standings, that's how the seeding is going to go. That's not how it's going to go. The best finish overall among your next 3 races is going to be how it's seeded. So obviously your 3 winners are going to get the top seeds and things like that. If you have any tiebreakers, your first tiebreaker is the next best finish, and your second tiebreaker will then be the point standings after Pocono. So when we're all done at the Tricky Triangle, we will know 1 through 32 for the in-season tournament, which will then start the week after that at Atlanta/EchoPark Speedway, and we'll run the round of 32 there, bracket style, 32 cars, whittled down to 16 for Chicago, and then 8 for Sonoma, 4 for Dover, and then it's just a 1v1 battle with the final 2 at Indianapolis. All those races will be on TNT and Max/HBO Max. I don't know if they're going to go back to HBO by the time that happens. And it'll be the same booth as Amazon Prime. Adam Alexander, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Steve Letarte. It's definitely going to be fun. Do you have any opinion on how this all is going to work out in the seeding process the next couple of weeks? You kind of had the head in the palms there as I was going through it.
I just shout out to our guy Denny Hamlin who kind of came up with this concept, and I just think his idea was the best for how he did the seeding, because first of all, I didn't even think they needed the 3 races. I get that you want to have something to talk about and get people excited. So if you had to do points over the next 3 races, totally understand. It's going to be a little bit wonky. We're going to a big short or a big flat track here soon, and Pocono will be down in Mexico for the first time. And then we have this weekend in Michigan as well, which is kind of a little bit of a quirky intermediate track. And so that was going to be weird. But the fact that it's the highest finish is crazy. I mean, it kind of throws things out. It was going to be really cool if we saw first round Denny Hamlin going up against Justin Haley, something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. And Haley pulls the upset. Everyone would be talking about that. We were hoping maybe we get a little betting action, that maybe the books would start to offer us not only some in-season tournament futures of, to advance to the Final Four or win the in-season tournament, but also maybe some head-to-heads. Could we get a Kyle Larson versus a John Hunter Nemechek? That would be a crazy, I don't know what you'd have, but
I'll take the plus 30,000 on me.
Yeah.
I did see BetMGM is the only book that I've seen so far that has any sort of in-season tournament odds up. It was just for who's going to win. I didn't even really take stock of it because Kyle Larson was plus 280 or something to win it. I don't remember that offhand. Someone can correct me if they go look at those odds, but I know Larson was on top, and I would rather wait and see those matchups, because I bet you, obviously there's going to be upsets. The first race is Atlanta. You have a big one that you see at the super speedway style of racing, and you can have half of the field be upsets right off the bat.
Yeah, that's tough. And I'm sure it's hard for you and I to remain on the sideline, but if we're talking, less than a 3-1 on Kyle Larson to win this in-season tournament with Atlanta and a couple road courses, at least one road course tucked in there as well, I believe. That's good. That's a tough look there, man. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's really tough. And then you go to India of all places, which we've only been to once as of late as well. So that is a very, very tough scene. But regardless, I still think there is an edge to have there, because there are drivers that we know that I'm sure we can break down here as we kind of look forward a little bit. Who are some of those drivers that you'd be looking at? Because there's a couple when we were going to Atlanta, Chicago, Sonoma right off the rip that I'd be interested in backing.
Yeah, and it does think that Shane Van Gisbergen is not going to be in it, because with the road courses, I would certainly be more apt to bet on him for some upsets. I did pull up those BetMGM odds. Larson is your favorite at plus 300, so I didn't give him quite enough credit there. You have Byron at plus 375, Reddick at plus 500, Bell plus 550, Chase at 10-1, and then you start to get down a little deeper. Oh. One of the names I see here, Chris Buescher, is also at 20-1. We know he's got some oval prowess. We know he's got some road course prowess. We know that RFK can be a little back and forth, but certainly can win races. Of course, we saw Buescher win at Watkins Glen. He won at Michigan a couple years back in his 3-win 2023 season. He could be a guy that's real sneaky. They have Hocevar with him at 20-1. That's not going to work. Joey Logano, 35-1. That may be the best value that I've seen here so far, along with Kyle Busch, 40-1. Brad Keselowski, 60-1. Those are all guys that, of course, when you're looking at winning the whole thing, it probably, there's a very good chance that if it's going to be Larson versus somebody at Indy, it's going to be Larson that wins it. So who cares what the outright is if it's just going to be Larson versus somebody. But it does look like a little further down the board. There's some value here. Even an AJ Allmendinger at 30-1. When his motor doesn't blow up in the first 10 laps, he can run pretty well at some of these intermediates as well.
What about Daniel Suarez? What's Daniel Suarez's number? Because Atlanta, we know with the track record this guy has there. Chicago, he can get around. And Sonoma, he's also won as well. So Daniel Suarez could put himself, I think, potentially make an Elite 8 run here.
I like that. He is at 50-1, even with Ty Gibbs. Bubba Wallace at 80-1, also a number that is out there a little bit further than I would expect.
Okay, yeah. What about Justin Haley? What's his number?
Got to scroll down a bit. He is the second to last odds. He is at 300-1 to win the in-season tournament. The only guy behind him is Ty Dillon at 750-1. I think it's safe to say Ty Dillon will not be winning the in-season tournament. Sorry to all those number 10 fans.
I hate to say it, man, but if Ty Dillon's getting thrown out at that number, that's at least worth a sprinkle. I haven't played on BetMGM to know enough what their futures cash out policy is, but if they're anywhere in the ballpark of how aggressive someone like a FanDuel is, or maybe even like a Bet365, which will occasionally let you cash out of things at a profit. I would be interested in that, man, because I mean, anything can happen there at Atlanta. Chicago could be rain-filled and crazy yet again. Yeah. And I like Justin Haley, though, to be honest, like out of both of those guys, though, because he's won at a super speedway. It was fluky, but he's won there. He almost won at Chicago. Like, he could make an Elite Eight run as well. So, I mean, could you imagine how you'd feel going into, you know, you need to win 2 or 3 fluke matchups and you're walking away with a 300-to-1 ticket? This is fun. This is going to be fun. We're definitely going to do, I think, another video revisiting this a little bit more, Elliot. But, man, those are some long gainers out there that could be of interest.
Yeah, and I think we'll break it all down, too, once the seating gets finalized and stuff. I really hope the books get into it because it would be a lot of fun. Give us a matchup on every single one. Let's do it March Madness style. Fill out a bracket. You get a perfect bracket. You win $1 million or something. That'd be fun if we can get that worked out, too. And I know that the broadcasters will be in on it. They were talking about it on Prime. And I bet you one of the questions that the guy gets asked, whoever wins at Michigan, I bet you old Marty Snyder, whoever's out there, hey, congratulations, you're in the in-season tournament. How do you feel? I bet you it's going to be out there.
Yeah, I mean, we've already heard some like comments so far from drivers who don't really care about it. We've heard Chris Buescher say, yeah, I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not concerned about it. But then we've also heard Denny Hamlin who's come out and said, like, look, dude, like this is going to change how I'm racing a little bit. This is going to change my strategy a little bit. And like the NBA has had a lot of success with this. So I think this could be something for NASCAR that gets people excited. Maybe we can do potentially a bracket tournament here for the IBT Media YouTube family as well. That'd be cool to see that. So a lot of possibilities. It's a fun time, man, because usually this is a time of year where NASCAR fans, they like to check out a little bit. Hey, not this year, baby. We got the in-season tournament. Let's roll.
Nope. But hey, there's your move. We'll get it set up one way or another, even if it's just you send us an email with your picks. We'll get brackets worked out, and we'll do a little giveaway. I don't think we're going to put cash on the line for sure. You're going to have to go to the books for that. But that would be fun for the IBT family to participate in. Yeah,
maybe a little giveaway. We'll do something, whether that's IBT Media swag or whether that's something else we can shook loose here.
A little bit of both. Let's say a Pocono when we're in the diecast test.
Yep.
Let's grab something, and put it up as content. Here's your prize. We got this, and we got like an IBT koozie. We'll send it to you if you win our in-season tournament.
Let's do a Ty Dillon diecast. Let's find a Ty Dillon diecast for the fam.
We'll find a little Ty Dillon like 2017 Geico car autographed in one of those tents that's been sitting around and got rained on and stuff.
They're just like begging. See, that's when you roll up to Elliot and you start negotiating, right? You're not paying. I'm not paying full price for this. I know you've had this since 2017. You're looking to get rid of it. Let's make a deal here, Keddy.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, Stan saying Larson can't possibly win the in-season tournament. He can't go 5 consecutive races without wrecking himself. True.
Larson at 3-1's a no. Hamlin is at 12-1, and especially if he says he's taking it seriously, he may be the bet. As soon as we get done, I may walk into this BetMGM, throw a little coin on that number 11.
Yeah, I'm going to see if they let me finally register an account. I'm going to try to reprove my identity, but
it didn't work for me forever. And then over the last month or two, and like I said, I've got good numbers there. I've got some good bets there. I've got, I don't know if it's just rolling over because I do it every week, but the no sweat token has really helped me out too for the outrights that I swing and miss on.
Yeah, you got to have those, man. You're going to keep it. We were so hot hitting outrights early in the season, kind of cooled down a little bit in that market, but going to keep going. Let us know down in the comments below this video your guys' thoughts on the in-season tournament. Are you excited about it? Do you really not care about it? Also, who are some of your early picks? Do you like the Ty Dillon? Do you like the Justin Haley call? We want to hear from you. And Elliot, we got to keep this train moving here, man, to get into a little Michigan breakdown.
Yeah, man, we're starting to talk about the bets. Let's break down the track first in the Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Shout out to Ray Dunlap in the clip, and hopefully we don't have to deal with any of that rain at Pocono. But in Michigan, your entry list for the week, 36 chartered cars, no open entries. The Busch Light Apple cars back there, as you see on the screen. In the truck series, special entries, Hocevar is going to be back in the 7, Ross Chastain in the 44, Luke Van Haas in the 66. It gets started on Friday at 1 o'clock. Truck series practice, they are getting a 50-minute session for all trucks because there has not been a truck series race in Michigan since 2020. So they're going to get a 50-minute session. They'll get an hour to adjust their cars and then go back through tech before they qualify at 8:05 a.m. on Saturday. Friday, if you want other racing action, there is ARCA stuff all day, culminating in the 5 o'clock p.m. ARCA race, 100 laps. But yeah, bright and early on Saturday, 8:05 a.m., truck qualifying on FS1. Cup Series gets started at 9:30 a.m. with their little practice session and qualifying round on Prime. And then at noon, the Truck Series race for Michigan. Get ready for this one. The DQS Solutions and Staffing 250, powered by Precision Vehicle Logistics. It is on Big Fox, so keep an eye out for that. Stage lengths 30, 30, and 65 for the Truck Series race. So the racing action ending pretty early there on Saturday. And then Sunday, 2 p.m., the FireKeepers Casino 400 on Prime. Stage lengths 45, 75, and 80 for this 2-mile super speedway.
Super speedway.
Not super speedway, more of an intermediate, but they call it International Speedway. It's a big track. You used to, I think the qualifying record here, I think it's still Marcus Ambrose with like a 209 mile an hour lap. That's close enough to super speedway for me, at least back in the old days. Back when the Batman car over my shoulder got a win there when you could actually run fast in Michigan.
Yeah, good point. And look, I mean, we just came off of a track also that had super speedway in the name, and it wasn't a super speedway. So
that's where I got it from.
Yeah,
I'll calling it super in the Irish Hills. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I'll forgive you there. Also, I hope everyone forgives us because StreamYard just had this new update, and it is so hard to run everything now. The banners are crazy. So if you see us flashing banners, part of it is I'm just an idiot. So part of that's that, and then part of it's that. So a little grace, we appreciate it.
And like I said, the uploads, I'm missing 4 of them. I don't know which 4 I'm missing other than Nashville Review. So apologies if that comes up and we just don't have anything on the screen for it. Shout out StreamYard.
Yeah, shout out, man. We not only do they double the price on us here this year, but they also do that. So we're open.
They make it easier to make it more difficult for us.
If there's any video streaming software companies out there, anyone knows anyone out there, potentially looking for a little sponsor out here, maybe looking to switch, we're open.
Let's start our own. Let's start Latte Streams. LatteStreams.com in between meetings. But anyway, enough with the banter. We got to break down Michigan, Seth.
Yeah. Michigan, 2-mile low wear intermediate track. The primary comparison is Kansas. Kansas often viewed as the mini Michigan, as many people put it. We're also using some secondary comps here that we included in the betting projections this week: Las Vegas, Charlotte, Homestead, and Texas. So that's kind of a look at Michigan. I know a lot of people back in the day used to kind of compare it to Pocono, but I threw that comp out, Elliot, because I remember we asked McNasty last year at Pocono if it could kind of compare to Michigan or potentially Indianapolis, and Pocono and Indy definitely comps, but not so much Michigan.
Yeah, and they're easy enough comparisons, especially last year because the schedule went Indianapolis, Pocono,
right,
Michigan, or somewhere in there. I think Indy was actually a few weeks before or after. I think it was Pocono, then Indy, and then Michigan a couple weeks after that. I had that mixed up. But anyway, Pocono, of course, is going to comp more to Indy because turn 3 is literally modeled after Indianapolis. Michigan, just one of those big flat tracks that you're right. It's almost a hybrid of big time track that's closer to Pocono and Indy, and also small time track. I like using the half mile or the mile and a half here, especially because we've been to all of them already. It'd be one thing if we'd raced Pocono 2 weeks ago and then we were coming to Michigan like we were last year, where we'd already gotten through Pocono and Indy before we got to Michigan. Then you can comp that as the combo of hey, what have you done for me lately on a similar-ish kind of track? That's kind of what we're doing here with tracks that do match it a little better.
Some of the trends to know for Michigan International Speedway: Tyler Reddick is the only active driver with an average starting position inside the top 10 all time, 9.0. That is only in 6 races, though, so do keep that in mind. Joey Logano, he has a 9.86 average starting position in 24 races here. That's pretty good. And then Chase Elliott, 10 flat. They're the only other 2 drivers at or under a double-digit average starting position. So if you want any of those drivers, I do suggest you get in on them pre-practice and qualifying. Qualifying was rained out here last year. Let's keep that in mind as well. So we only have 2 next-gen pole winners in this era. It's Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace winning that in 2022, Bell in 2023. So 2 Toyotas, not the biggest sample size. For the race itself, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, and Denny Hamlin are all tied for the most Michigan runner-ups of all active drivers with 3 each. I thought that was kind of interesting that all 3 of them have kind of been snake bit a little bit. Ty Gibbs as well. He is second all time in Michigan average finishing here, 8.0 in 3 races. So pretty good for Ty Gibbs, who hasn't had the best season thus far. Chase Elliott, 7th all time. He's the only other guy in that top 10 list, 10.5. And he started his career, if you remember way back when, Elliott, with 3 straight runner-up finishes at Michigan. And then last trend for you here, winners in the next gen era. Again, only 3 races here from the front row, 33% of the time, top 5, 66% of the time, outside the top 10, only happened 1 time out of 3, 33% of the time, deepest in the field to win. The closer, Kevin Harvick, P16.
Yeah, Harvick, certainly a lot of wins here, especially with the Fords. And a lot of these drivers you mentioned too, in terms of the next gen pole winners, both Bell and Wallace were guys that I looked to try to get onto my card. Their Michigan stats were just not so great even after the polls. Keselowski, I mean, he's a Michigan boy. Other than like your Daytonas and getting a Daytona 500, I feel like he'll want to win at Michigan more than just about anywhere else. You're right, though, a little snake bit with the most runner-up finishes. And for Ty Gibbs, we know it's gotten a little better, but also has not really gotten that great for him. Maybe a little inflatable life raft thrown out to the 54 car at sea this week with how good he's been at Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a time, right? If there's ever a time for Ty Gibbs to show up, I think it's right now. And, you know, you look at his number too, like, I don't think I dare bet it, but over at MGM with your buddies over there that will let you play, not me play, you can get 50-1 on him. So it's pretty crazy. I never thought we'd see a 50-1 on Ty Gibbs again, but, you know, here we are, man.
Yeah, some long numbers out there for good equipment. One guy I'm surprised to see not in any of these stats because it used to be his playground back when he raced the 42 car was Kyle Larson. He got his first career win here. I think one of only 2 drivers to ever get their first win at Michigan. For this year, or for this week, he's our Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week presented by iFantasyRace.com. Last year at Michigan, he looked to be the class of the field again, just like he was back in those CGR days. Finished in Asterisk Mark 34th place. He led the most laps, was the leader on lap 112. After a caution, gets shuffled back to the pit strategy, and then gets involved in a wreck shortly after the restart. Total speed rankings for the day, he ranked 2nd. Larson, a guy that, again, he's not in any of those big-time trendy stats, and part of it is because of an Asterisk Mark finish last year.
He has the speed, though, right? Like, he has the speed. That's the issue with Kyle Larson is he's still been fast here in the next-gen era. He just can't get the finishes, man. But, I mean, I know that our model this week, I mean, we still really like Kyle Larson. I believe he comes in 2nd this week, 83% IBT grade. And again, he's top in the iFantasyRace.com's next-gen total speed ranking. So he's been the fastest car, but just not getting the finishes. So I am potentially looking to add Larson, but he's a guy I'm looking for post-practice and qualifying as well because doesn't have the best average starting position here as well in this next-gen era. I know he does have 1 top 5 starting position, but then he has a couple where he's been outside the top 10. So it's a wait and see this week for me in the number 5 car.
Yeah, in terms of Larson, thinking about the last couple of weeks, qualified well at Charlotte, but then crashes out of the lead.
Yeah.
Didn't really have a great car, great night in Nashville. Ends up finishing in the top 10, but was not a night where you looked at Kyle Larson. Wasn't a weekend where you looked at Kyle Larson as being a competitor. And I feel like you don't have 3 bad weekends in a row for an elite team like that. So definitely will be something to watch. But I agree. Wait until after practice and qualifying. Let's give you more impressions of the books and talk about our bets overall for the week in tonight's Parking Garage Props. In terms of impressions of the books this week, again, some variance in odds, maybe not quite as much as I wanted. And overall, it was a tough week for me to pick out some good things in the card there, partly because of value. Mm-hmm. And again, partly because it just kind of feels like a tough race to handicap, almost like last week, because it's kind of just a unicorn that's really on its own without a track that races exactly like it.
Yeah, I very much agree with you, man. Very much agree from the point that tough to handicap. I did like some of the value I found on the board, at least what our projections put out versus what the board was putting out for their favorites and people on top there. Like, I definitely liked what we saw. There are 2 matchups that I'll get into later that I just saw at the beginning of the week. I've been watching them. They moved a little bit, but not a ton. And like, so I really liked it, but it's one of those weeks, like, find a few bets you like, Let's get down on him pre-practice and qualifying, and then let's save a little bit of bankroll, I think, for after P's and Q's, see if anything opens up. If you looked at just late run speed last week, you're probably betting Ryan Blaney coming out of practice and qualifying, right? And he showed up and he cashed a ticket for you. So I think maybe we see something similar where we're going to have to be very in tune on Saturday.
Yeah, and another thing that made this week a little bit tougher to handicap too, our betting model normally kind of shakes out to where you have a couple of guys in the mid to high 90s, then you got a few 80s, and then you start to get down to the 70s once you get outside the top 10. Of course, you get to see the top 10 and a preview of what we get in an article that comes out every Friday morning on in-betweenmedia.com, where I also break down a few of the outrights. This week, I think number one of the model was in the high 70s. So there's definitely there's a lot of variance coming into what we've got. And like I said, it's not as clear cut at the top of our model as it is. So that makes things a little more difficult as well.
Yeah, 84% William Byron. So, but everyone's under a blanket though. Everyone is under a blanket. Like once you get past, but you only have 3 drivers in the 80s, and usually you might get 1 or 2 in the 90s, and maybe like 5 or 6 in the 80s. But after that, then it's 79% Chase Elliott, and it's a blanket over the next basically 11 or 12 drivers. So yeah, definitely going to be close. And we saw that kind of play out last year. There were a ton, like the reason I love that Asterisk Mark report and reading that every week is like there are a ton of people who had great runs last year. Larson, Chase Elliott, and Ross Chastain, as well as Bubba Wallace, who all didn't get the finishes they deserve. So it's just something to keep in mind here. We might see a little bit of treachery here on Sunday. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's as boring as that Nashville race was, honestly.
Yeah, and hey, if you weigh the model too, you have to weigh in asterisk mark finishes from each of the weeks that we got. If we're breaking down results from all those comp tracks you mentioned earlier, if you had a bad race, even though you ran well, it's going to lower your model score. But enough about breaking down the model. Again, the IBT Racing Family Discord, your best place to see all of that. As you see, you can sign up there, $3.99 a month, $36 for the year, and win that sweet Joey Logano polo this time next week. That'll be fun as well. In terms of the outrights, I'm going to let you get started because this is a guy I was on last week. It did not work nearly as well as I thought it would. Didn't work out well at all. You're heavy on him this week when I'm completely hands off of a certain very popular driver in the garage.
Yes, Chase Elliott and his fans, Elliott, they are getting restless, my man. They're getting very restless. I've seen a lot of people just kind of, tweeting out what's going on with Chase Elliott. And like, it's kind of what, like, I said it last week when you bet on him, is that like, you have to be comfortable if you're betting an outright on him to potentially run 10th to 15th, because that's pretty much where his average running position has been a lot of the time. However, he's really good at Michigan, man. He's really good at Michigan. 4th in our projections. He had the best average running position at Michigan last year as well, 6.5. Most laps inside the top 15, 92.7. Second most laps led on the day, 29 of them as well. Tied for 3rd in the Michigan Next Gen Total Speed ranking. So if there's a track for Chase to show up here, I think it is Michigan. Really like what, at least like, you're not going to place a bad ticket with Chase where he's just going to be, 20th, 30th plus, because this guy has no DNFs this season, top 20 in every single race. He's been super consistent, and he showed up with speed a couple times. One of those was a Texas race a few weeks back as well. If you recall, Elliot, where he was out there leading laps. That's a direct comp track to very much Michigan here. So I'm going to go with Chase Elliott here, 16-1 at FanDuel.
And that's not a bad number for Chase either. But last week, Chase Elliott, watching him this year, really reminds me of another most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and how things went for him. Gen 4 car.
Yeah.
Dale Jr. was winning races all over the board. He was having a great time. Wasn't able to get a title like Chase was in the Gen 6 car, I believe. You move to the COT, and you don't see Dale Jr. run quite as well. Of course, has a 4-year winless streak. We're not quite to that point with Chase. Had that Texas win, thankfully, save him from getting close to that early last year. But you changed the car, and it kind of affected the driving style. And I think it's exactly what we're seeing with Chase Elliott. I know some people still talk about his leg injury from a couple years ago. I don't really think that's affecting him anymore. I think it's just a case of Chase Elliott being one of those drivers that he was an expert, and he learned to really drive that previous gen car that we used up through 2021. Really learned that one, really did well in that one. And moving to the next gen, still struggling to kind of get his footing. No pun intended. I just mentioned leg injury, but struggling to get his footing. And a guy who, again, with Hendrick Motorsports, Lord knows the expectations are unbelievably high. If you're not fighting for the week, there are some people that are going to call for your heads. And we know that Chase Elliott has this ride as long as he wants it. It's only if he retires to go hang out in Dawsonville, or if he, for some reason, would want to sign somewhere else, that he would leave this ride. And I do think this 9 car, he's one of those guys that I mentioned earlier that it's just one more card that needs to fall the right way, and that 9's in victory lane. And with his Michigan stats, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah, this is the time, man. Like, if you can get someone who's fourth in our projections at a 16-1 number, then I'm going to do it every time. I went 0.8 of a unit, so not a full unit on Chase, but definitely a little more aggressive than I have been in the past. But not the last you'll hear from me on Elliott. But E, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for your first outright of the night as well.
Yeah, and since Blaney's won a race now, the guy in the garage that has the most speed that has yet to go to victory lane this year is Tyler Reddick in the 45 car. I got this number at plus 1250 over on BetRivers. I used a boost from 10-1 to get it up to there, and 10-1 already was a pretty solid number for him. We know that 2311, especially Reddick this year, has had speed, but just struggles to put a full race together. There are quite a few guys with good stats at Michigan that have just struggled to put the full races together and get a checkered flag. And Reddick, one of those guys. And the middle of his season at points was kind of like that last year. Of course, had much more consistency in his finishes, but then gets the win here. And in the model, he was 6th, but like I said, the highest is 84. I was thinking of the 70s because Reddick is a 77 in the model. It does show that there's more variance there. And I do think that for Reddick, he's had a couple of those asterisk marks there. And in terms of the old Michigan stats too, those are kind of going to be a detractor for Reddick because outside of his win last year, P18 was his best finish, and then he had 3 races outside the top 20. But that just means that Michigan, if you have the speed on a particular weekend, it doesn't really matter how badly you've run here before. If you got the car, you're going to run pretty well here in general too. On some of the compish tracks, in terms of what he's done for me lately, the P9 at Nashville was not quite as good as that car was.
Yeah.
And the P8 at Homestead too, we know he can rip the fence. You don't really do a whole lot of fence ripping at Michigan. But definitely a guy that I'm looking at this week, especially at a plus 1250. Both of your numbers are FanDuel, and they have some wild outrights this week. This one on BetRivers, mostly because I could get the boost. And I'm not going to go on a big soapbox, but one of those numbers that was pretty big this week, Alex Bowman at a 42-1. It doesn't matter what it is for a Hendrick car to be 42-1 anywhere.
That is long.
Very, very long number. Just keep your head on a swivel on that one.
Yeah, that's actually very long. Bowman's 7th in our projection, so I actually might have to go sniff that out. That's a good call out there, man. The thing with Tyler Reddick is, like, I am so curious to find out what Tyler Reddick we get this week, because it seems like, we go to Kansas, 2nd in average running position. We go to Charlotte, 3rd in average running position. Guy has unloaded rockets. But then we go to Las Vegas, kind of disaster of a race for him. Texas, kind of disaster of a race for him. Homestead, okay, like a top 10 car. So I'm just so curious, can we get Tyler Reddick, and can he be a guy, can he have the speed late that he has early in the race? That's his thing. Every race is he's up there, stage 1, stage 2. He's a great guy if you're playing over on like a Fantrax fantasy league and you're getting stage points, because he's going to get you stage points, but then he might drift back to top, you're hoping he cashes a top 10 ticket at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't hate the number plus 1250 though. Feels like a really good one over from our friends from Pittsburgh. Yeah.
And again, appreciate the boost there. Pretty good number there, and a pretty good number for a very recent Michigan winner that you've got for your second outright.
Yeah, give me a little Chris Buescher action, the Bushwhacker. I'm getting back in on him, 24-1 at FanDuel. And look, man, like I've bet Chris Buescher so much this season that I'm kind of just like stuck in a rut with it. And like, but before, as a younger NASCAR motorsports better as a whole, like I would get off of him, right? Because I'd be like, oh, he's burned me all year. He hasn't hit. He hasn't cashed my matchups. He hasn't cashed my top 10 bets. We're just going to keep betting him though, because this is an absurd number for a guy that comes in 5th in our projections this week as well. I really like what he's been doing so far this season on intermediates. Has had some really good runs at various places, tied for 5th also at Michigan in the next gen total speed ranking. So he's had speed here. He's won here before. Average running position last year, 14.5. So nothing crazy by any means, but at the same time, like Chris Buescher's been super consistent in all these 1.5 miles we've been to so far this season. I mean, look, we go to Charlotte a couple weeks ago. Who was fast? It was Chris Buescher. Did he get the finish he deserves? No, of course not. Why would he? But was very high in average running position, top 10 that day. We go to Texas last week or a couple weeks ago as well. And he's another, top 8 in average running position there. Las Vegas, top 5 in average running position. So the guy's been leading, at least the RFK camp, a lot of times the Ford camp at these types of tracks. So I don't hate Chris Buescher here for the outright. I don't hate him for a top 4. I was looking at him maybe there as well, but I think we maybe see a little bushwhacker take to the field this weekend.
Yeah, man, I don't hate the number, and I certainly like that Heinz paint scheme on the car this week for some sort of barbecue sauce or something like that. But for RFK, it's just tough. I mean, I don't want to compare them to like a Legacy or a Spire, but it's kind of like that in the case of, do they really have race-winning speed? I don't think so. Is it a situation where you're going to have one guy run top 10, one guy run about 15th, and one guy run 30th?
That's exactly what you said last week. Yeah.
That feels like I was going to say, I feel like I've been on this train before, as I feel like you had a Buescher number last week as well.
I did.
But
28 to 1.
And if they're going to keep offering these numbers, it's one of those where we've seen the guy win before. We've seen him win at Michigan. We know that they can pop out with race-winning speed, even when we don't really think they have race-winning speed, especially at a place like Michigan, which is where I'm going to turn now to my other outright. It's the Ford outright for the manufacturer, plus 280, the best I could find on ESPN Bet.
Ponies.
With these manufacturer odds, every once in a while, they will let one creep out a little bit. And even with Ford winning last week, I don't know why it's this week. Ford, before last year, Tyler Reddick won in a Toyota. Ford won 9 straight before that.
Wow.
Granted, 5 of those were with Kevin Harvick. He's retired. I know. I get it. But they had 9 straight. They're the all-time wins leader here with 44. They always put some extra effort and some extra pressure on these Michigan races. The Ford Motor Company started in Michigan and has been there since the turn of the 20th century. They want to win at Michigan. You are going to see some Fords run well and run up front. And again, it's a tough week to pin down favorites. There's no, Larson's definitely winning, or Denny Hamlin's got the edge to beat everybody, or it's a road course, go with these 6 guys. What's stopping the Penske quartet? I'm throwing Barry in there. What's stopping any of those RFK guys? They're the team wins leader. They have 14 career wins here. I know Mark Martin has 4, and I think Biffle has 4. Neither of them are racing for RFK this weekend. But it's one of those cases where in a race that's hard enough to handicap, with Ford going out this far, with the amount of effort that they put into winning at Michigan, it's one of the most special places for a Ford to win. Give me a Mustang going to victory lane in the Irish Hills.
Can't hate on that at all. I think that is a little bit long of a number. Again, they don't rate out super high for us. We have Buescher 5th. We have Ryan Blaney 8th. But Joey Logano is going to be in the mix. If Buescher has speed, Keselowski might have speed. What happens to him in the race, I can't tell you, because that's been the mystery with Brad Keselowski, who just barely squeaked his way into that in-season tournament. But and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw low front row speed here as well. So yeah, I like this call out there a lot from you. I think that kind of closes out the outright market for us.
Sure does. We got a couple placement props there. Before we get into each of the top 10s that we have, I'm on that 77 train, and I'm glad Rod is not here because he would give me so much crap for this. But I'm going Hocevar for the top 5, and I was damn tempted to go on the outright too. It's just a little too low for me because Spire's had speed that is top 5 level speed. It's been crazy. They've shown they can be contenders, and the 77 in particular can contend when they hit on everything. And I know we've just been talking about guys with speed that don't hit on everything. The 77 has been hitting on almost everything. Front row, running at Charlotte, having a chance to win the race, winning speed, blows the motor. Last week, they don't blow the motor. They nail the pit stop at the end. He runs P2, and if we had another little late restart there, if we had some chaos like we did last year at Nashville, that 77 car, you would have known he was there. We already knew he was there. We talked about him for 15 minutes earlier in the show. They've got the speed. They've got what it takes. I definitely think this 77 car is going to pull out an upset and get a win. It may take until later in the year. It may be one of those playoff races where he plays spoiler. They don't make it and he wins one. But he's solid here, and he's another Michigan kid too. One start, obviously, in Cup here, started 11th and finished 10th. Good enough run here in a year where he was just kind of coming into his own. This was before we saw the top 5 run at the Glen or some of those other strong finishes late in the year. The kid's got the speed. He's just got to get his head on his shoulders, not make some of those silly moves to have a target on his back. And this kid is going to win races, and he may even win races in the 77 car. He's running the trucks. We know that, again, Michigan kid wants to win here. I'm going with the 77 to continue to have that speed and run top 5 at a plus 285.
Look, there was that, over 0.5 wins for Carson Hocevar this season, coming in around plus 175 preseason. And I would love to have that bet in my back pocket right now because I think that would be very live, potentially cash. I just don't think it's here at Michigan. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But I like where your head's at, but I think you got a lot of heart in this one too. and the Michigan numbers. He did finish, top 10 here last year. I'll speak on why I think that was a little bit more of a fluke though. And I'm expecting, maybe some things to catch up to Carson Hocevar potentially as early as this weekend. But Elliot, I like where it's at.
Yeah, I can understand because I kind of spoke passionately about it that maybe there'd be some. This is much more of just that this kid has run well, and
Recent form,
the recent form and just the emotion of the sport. Because oftentimes you do have those storybook moments in the Cup Series, and this just all lines up. The Michigan kid from a town that within the last year, I think they had a tornado hit there. His hometown pizza shop or something got destroyed or something like that. The emotion and the storybook endings, you get those a couple of times a year in the Cup Series. I just feel like it's primed that this weekend could certainly be one of those. Even without a win, I do feel like another 4th, 3rd, 2nd place run is enough of a storybook ending there, and it's worth the number there. I do think his outright's a little low. I think his top 10's a little low. I think the top 5 is the perfect spot to bet the 77.
Yeah, see, that's the issue. The top 5 is low now. We're betting minus money top 10s on Carson Hocevar. I just can't get there.
We're not betting it. That's what the market.
That's what's being offered right now. So I'm gonna raise you to a Michael McDowell top 10 plus 750 at FanDuel. I'm gonna keep it in that same clubhouse there at Spire. I'm going half a unit on this, so just kind of a smaller wager for me. He's 15th in our projections. Top 10 run form at Texas, almost won that race as well. And he's at top 16 average running positions at 3 of our 5 comps this season. So if Hocevar is minus money for a top 10 in the same equipment, I think plus 750 is a wild number. So give me a little McNasty this weekend, plus 750. I've seen him as low as 3-1 for this. So to see FanDuel throwing out a plus 750 like they are here, I mean, give me all the McNasty this weekend, brother.
Yeah, and this was one of those FanDuel numbers that's way too long. I saw this when I was sorting out my bets this afternoon, threw some coin on it. This is a squad ride for sure on the 71. His Michigan stats have not been great. I looked. He's been consistent. Those first couple of years, he was always in the 30s.
Yeah.
Then he ran, I think, every race from, I think it was 2018 through 2023. He ran between 20th and 29th. Consistency. And then I think he was finally in the top 20 last year. But I mentioned it with Reddick. The Michigan stats don't really matter. They certainly don't matter if you got a fast car. And I do think, again, Spire across the board. I don't know about Justin Haley, but the 71 and 77 have thrown out speed this year. And I don't want to jump ahead too far to next week because I know all the 3 of us amigos are going to have some fun and a lot of bets there. A little McDowell outright for next week. I'm very interested to see what the books are offering us.
Yeah, I'm with you there. He's always dangerous on those tracks. I believe you have one more top 10 potentially to round us out here. Who do you have?
Yeah, one more top 10 that I'm taking a look at our banners here and there. You found it for me, so thank you for the assist there. It's good teamwork here on the Backroad. It's Brad Keselowski for a top 10 at plus 125 on Fanatics. The home track magic for Keselowski too, like I mentioned. He's never won here, and I don't think he has race winning speed. Like I talked about with Roush, I'm not going for that. But the last few weeks have shown he's not a 30th place car either. Finally got that P5 at Charlotte to break through. First top 10 of the year for him was there. Started 6th at Nashville, kind of faded. P2 at Kansas for losing a tire. In the next gen, P15, P4, P5 for his career, 9 top 5s, 15 top 10s, and has had a solid total speed ranking in the last 2 races here, 5th and 8th. Another hometown kid in the Irish Hills. Well, he's not a kid anymore. He's one of the veterans of the sport. Shows how old we're getting. But Keselowski for a top 10 plus 125 on Fanatics, the best odds I could find it.
Yeah, I'm okay with Brad Keselowski this week. He might be a play for me in fantasy. I've been looking at what his numbers are, so definitely someone I'm kind of keeping an open mind to, and excited to see if he can once again unload with some speed. I'm going to shift us into the matchup department here. I'm going to go Chris Buescher minus 115 over Bubba Wallace, 2.5 units for me, my second favorite play this weekend. I've already kind of spoke about Buescher. 5th in the projections, Bubba 19th in the projections. Some of that is he's kind of had some bad finishes, not only at Michigan, like last year's asterisk mark finish, but also at the same time, just has not had great runs at intermediates this season for him. Chris Buescher 4-2 against him at comps last season, 4-1 against him this season at comps as well. The only time he didn't beat him was Homestead earlier this year, where Buescher was P6, Wallace was P3. Better running position in 3 of 5 races, Chris Buescher than Bubba Wallace at these intermediates as well. Tied for 5th in Michigan Next Gen Total Speed Rankings, as I noted earlier. Bubba more in that P8 range, which is still very respectable. They're very close in terms of average running position here in this race last year, 14.3, 14.5. I just don't trust Bubba Wallace right now, a guy who had 3 straight finishes of 30 plus, crashing out on all comp tracks just before last week's really nice run at Nashville where he recovered late. So I'm fading Bubba Wallace here this week. It's more about the fade of Bubba Wallace, but I also like Buescher as noted as well. So
yeah, I've got no problem with this. I think this is both of those. Hey, they're going to have speed. Are they going to have race-winning speed, or are they not going to have speed and throw out clunkers there? We don't know. Of course, we just talked up RFK a little bit. Now I'm going to fade him a little bit. This matchup is more of a hedge than anything else. But I looked at Daniel Suarez's stats a little bit. He was offered as a matchup against Keselowski, plus 135 over on BetMGM. He was kind of the surprise of the week for me. And like I said, just hedging in case the 6 does throw out a stinker. Suarez the last 2 years, P6 and P8 here. And he's led in all 3 of the next-gen races here, at least a handful of laps. 2019, really good runs here as well. Mm-hmm. P4 and P5 back with the Stewart-Haas Fords. Of course, we know the Stewart-Haas Fords ran well here. They won 6 of those 9 in a row. Harvick won 5, Clint Bowyer won another. But Suarez, one of those guys that has been on and off, like I said, a hedge here against Keselowski. And we know that the 99 will want to build some momentum heading into Mexico City. May as well get a good finish at Michigan to get it started.
I hate this bet. I hate this. This is my least favorite bet you had. Dude, Suarez, did you even look at the projections? Suarez 29th, dude. Like, he does have good Michigan stats here, but I mean, dude, he's like bottom 10 in average running position at Charlotte, Kansas, Texas, Las Vegas, bottom 12. Just been terrible at the comp.
That's Charlotte, Kansas, Texas, and Vegas. That's not Michigan.
You just said we shouldn't be factoring Michigan over the comps. I'm out. I'm out.
But here's the thing: is you can go on the model one way, and I like the model. I throw on the model a bunch of other bets, but it's a combination of, hey, you look at the model for this, but then you also have to factor in what have you done for me lately. You factor in what you've done at this track. If you make all your bets just off of one spreadsheet that I know is a very good model. I'm not talking down on the model here. I love it, and most weeks I throw a lot more into it. But it's the same thing as diversifying your cards. Same thing as hedging here. It's hedging based on I'm going to take some bets from the model. I'm going to take some bets from just what have you done for me lately, and some bets based on, hey, this guy's run pretty well. I know that the 6 can occasionally throw down some stinkers, and I'm going to hedge myself here on a plus money bet for a guy that, again, is going to want to build that momentum, and we could be heading toward another storybook weekend down at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez next week.
Also have Stan back, and he hit Suarez for a top 10 at plus 550 he's going with. So like that call. Also, a little bit of flowers from our guy Andrew saying, I'm going to run back. He said, I'm going to run back the Eric Jones bet. Good call last week, Elliot.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't have any legacy on my card, but maybe I just didn't look hard enough.
Kush saying, I almost never agree with Elliot. I'm loving this, so we appreciate you, Kush. And Cole saying, Buescher, great play this week, was fast last year, caught up in Larson's wreck, still finished 6th. I got another matchup for you here. I'm going back to the well with my guy Chase Elliott, minus 115 over Carson Hocevar. I'm going 5 units on this. This is my heavy play of the week. I have almost more tied up in this bet than any other bet I'm looking at this weekend. Chase 4th in the projections, Hocevar 16th. I think Hocevar's price is way overinflated just because of recent form. And I get it, he's been fast, but still, Chase is 5-1 against him at comps last season. This season, 5-0 against him. Better running position in 4 of the 5 races. I believe Charlotte was the one race that Hocevar did have a better running position there. Chase had the best average running position at Michigan last year, as I pointed out earlier. Most laps inside the top 15. Just super consistent. Tied for 3rd in the Michigan Next Gen Total Speed Rankings. Hocevar, 17.3 average running position last year. I do expect that to improve, but still only about 55% of the laps inside the top 15. 20th in the Michigan Total Speed Rankings in the Next Gen era. Kind of backed in that top 10 last year. He was not running top 10, 17.3 on the running position. So I think he's got a large target on his back. I think Ricky Stenhouse will be on the lookout for him. And I'm going to take Chase Elliott minus 115. He was initially the underdog minus 110 earlier this week, and then it moved a little bit before I could get down on it. So Chase over Carson. That's where we're going.
Now, see, Seth, this is a good example of diversifying your ways to put down bets. Chase Elliott's thrown out stinkers the last couple of weeks, 10th to 15th place car, if worse at times, while Hocevar has been one of the best 5 cars in the field the last 2 weeks. Doesn't matter for here, diversifying the card a little bit with the stats. And I do agree. There's a very good chance that my top 5 gets wiped out because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And Hocevar are battling for 9th, and the 77 gets put in the wall and kind of kills his day. So I'm not going to disagree with this bet here. I do want to bring up one more matchup from the comments because it was one I was looking heavily at earlier. Logano plus 160 over Byron. This is one where the stats are certainly going to favor the 24, But with the Logano love, the Ford love, the Chaos love, the plus 160 love, I definitely consider throwing some money on this bet.
I'm okay. I'm okay missing it. I think Byron's gonna be really fast again, but it is a good number on Logano. Logano's been fast lately, and you would have liked to have this bet last week. So I don't hate the look. It's one of those like long number. It's enticing you. I don't know if it's a trap or not, but let's go ahead though, Elliot. We got to shift to the truck series before we get out of here.
Yep, I've got a wild one, so let's bring up your more conventional truck bet first.
Yeah, give me Layne Riggs top 5 plus 140 at Bet365. I saw this as low as minus 150 at ESPN Bet, so I feel great getting some plus money value on this. Layne Riggs top 5 in 3 of 5 comp tracks so far in the truck series this season at Kansas, which is at Mini Michigan, our closest comp track. Number 1 in green flag speed, late run speed. Also, 3rd in speed by segment. And when you look at average running position, he was 2nd in the field, 5.6, spent 96.3% of the laps inside the top 15, finished 2nd that day. I think Layne Riggs is honestly live to win this. I might be flirting with that 8-1 outright as well, but give me all the Layne Riggs this week. He showed a lot lately. I think he continues to do that on Saturday.
Yeah, I think front row's undervalued this week. Chandler Smith, I found him at a 20-1. I think in a book that I threw some coin on. But my truck bet for the week is one of the 5 most fun bets, if not the most fun bet of the season. We always say that we are degen enough to bet the back markers if we get bets on them. Caesars Group C for the truck series is the back marker group, the number 2 of Morgan Baird, which has started and parked with more drivers this year than we can count. Josh Rayum in the 22, Norm Benning in the 6 car, Pittsburgh native, Tony Breidinger in the 5, the 02 of Nathan Bird and the 76 of Spencer Boyd are all grouped together, all at plus 400. And this is an easy one because you have 5 of those trucks that are, a couple Rayum brothers racing, the same team Frankie Muniz races for, a guy who I'd love to throw some coin down on if they give us. Norm Benning's trucks, we know they're a little behind par. Young's Motorsports, kind of the same. Freedom Racing Enterprises with Spencer Boyd, all those teams are
How
different.
many trucks are in this matchup? Holy cow.
It's a 6-truck group. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But you have Tony Breidinger in the Tricon truck that is winning every race with Corey Heim and running well with guys like Ruggiero and Gray and stuff like that. For Breidinger, though, I get why she's in this group. No top 10s this year, just 2 top 20s, has run exactly 30th the last 2 weeks, or 2 worst races of the year. But the money's still coming in. We've got Coach. You've heard of Coach, like the bags and the sneakers and stuff. They're sponsoring this 5-truck this week. And as well, down the road, I forget which track, the money's still coming in. She does have ARCA experience here. She has a P11 and a P8, and one of those was even a lead lap finish. So this is a case where I'm going all equipment and finding some excuse to bet on the back markers because, boy, is it a lot of fun. I'll be watching 30th place closer than anybody else with this bet come Friday night or Saturday afternoon at noon.
I love it, Elliot. That was great. That's a good one. That's a fun one to ride with. I did see Frankie Muniz like 150-1 for a top 5. I'm like, I'm definitely going to bet that sometime, but not this weekend.
Frankie Muniz outright. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, that is going to do it for us tonight on the back road. If you've rode with us this long, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the whole channel so you don't miss a thing. In addition to NASCAR and motorsports betting, we also have NFL betting, college football betting, PGA betting, entertainment betting, all to help you cash more and enjoy the ride along the way. Also, please be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com. Elliot has his fantastic article that comes out each and every Friday. We put the betting model there as well for all of the listeners and for everyone who's in the IBT racing family. So we appreciate you. Elliot, any last words, man?
Just shout out to rolling on down the back road with us. Best of luck this weekend on your bets. We'll see you next week when we break down racing south of the border in Mexico City.